Well, I guess I'll leave that in. Yes, I still have a cold. Apologies for all that. But I came across this little tidbit, again, over at Superhero Hype about the Buck Rogers plans. And I just had a little story a couple of days ago about how George Clooney was involved with Legendary to produce a streaming series of Buck Rogers, and it would possibly star in it. It wasn't clear that he would actually play Buck Rogers, but that he might actually appear in it. Nevertheless, he was going to produce the show. Then this story comes along that the rights are in question for the Buck Rogers property, and of course, there's the old poster from the '70s Gil Gerard film and series. So anyway, it's rather brief. A Hollywood Reporter comes onto this that Skydance says that no, they have plans to make a movie, and that they secured the rights. They're working with the estate of Philip Francis Nolan, the author who created Anthony Rogers, was the original name, 1929. Which Armageddon 2419 AD, and I think originally it was in a pulp magazine, a series or story, what have you, and from that the comic strip series was born, and that is primarily what people refer to as Buck Rogers going forward, and eventually the movie serial. And the last video I did, I forgot the man's name. Of course, it was Buster Crabbe. He played both Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon in those weekend movie serials. And I don't know how many. Maybe there was only one for Buck Rogers, or maybe there was two. I can't remember. But he did three for Flash Gordon. Three different series. I think they were all like 15 episodes or chapters, if you will. But the days before television, kids, and that's what they did. And so Buck Rogers, which actually inspired Flash Gordon, they wanted to compete with it in the comic strip business. Originally, Flash Gordon was going to be based on John Carter, but they couldn't seal the deal with Edgar Rice Burroughs, so they went with Alexander Raymond and came up with his own character. And there you go. And Flash Gordon, I think in a lot of ways, became probably more popular than Buck Rogers. But nevertheless, Buck Rogers held his own and kept coming back. And of course, coming back, I mean, the most recent version was way back in the late 70s, early 80s with the Gil Gerard series. So Clooney is apparently involved in this with Legendary. But the story, the original story, is in the public domain. But it says, but they have the rights to the comic book series, and I think they mean the comic strip stories that were a derivative of this. And that's where there's a bit of a dispute. However, Legendary responded that we have secured the rights. We need to proceed with our project, and the company will not comment any further on these baseless claims. But it keeps going. But it's just reiterating it. The same party has been claiming for years that they have rights which they do not have, and have been trying to inhibit projects based on rights they do not legally control. So they're saying this is BS with what Skydance is trying to claim here. Meanwhile, they've moved forward and is a lot further along. They've got Brian K. Vaughan to write the show, and I believe he's supposed to be the showrunner for it. And then you got a big name like Clooney involved. It seems like they're really rocking and rolling on this, and might actually come to fruition. A lot of things, they'll announce, we've got this in development, and all that means is that they're looking for to get it off the ground. They need investors and whatnot, and people and talent to come in and be a part of it and promote it. But with none of that happening, then it falls apart, and it's development hell, they refer to it. And this happens to quite a few things, and you can see a lot of projects that take years, because it's like the Black Adam film. I think that's 10 years they've been pushing that, and now it's finally, I believe, will be filmed this year. So that's how this stuff goes, and some things it never happens. It just falls There's so many stories about like the Masters of the Universe film people wanted to do, and they get it together. They even got announced an actor and everything, and then it just sort of fizzles. So here it looks like this might be underway, and yet here comes a little stumble. But taking Legendary at their word, I think they probably had the stronger case here, since Skydance is referring to the original public domain story. Well, that's kind of weakened, because then in that argument they could both do their own versions of it, which of course is troublesome because you're trying to promote yours. But yes, but there's other Buck Rogers, and they want to do a film. The Clooney and Legendary, they want to do the series, which in my opinion is probably a better approach to it. But it'll have to go to court. And it possibly could be just frivolous and a chance to get a settlement deal or something. You know, how these things go. But just based on that, that sounds kind of weak to me, of their claims on this. So, and when it comes to a public domain, there's a lot of these characters and whatnot that are in public domain. It's like anybody can do a Dracula or Frankenstein film or TV show and stuff. But you probably got to come up with a different title, The Terror of Dracula or something like that, to differentiate yourself from somebody else doing a film too, or what have you. But it just depends on who seems to have the better idea and approach, and they win, and so it's still possible to do it. But this is the kind of thing that it becomes too much of a mess and a trouble. People like Clooney and Vaughn says, well, I don't have forever here. I got to move on with something else, and that could happen, and it just squashes the whole thing. And there is no Buck Rogers, which would be sad, because Buck Rogers has potential to be a really fun and exciting adventure series. I don't know what approach Vaughn and Clooney will take to it. Hopefully there's more of that than trying to make it all dark and serious. Even that could work, but just remember, adventure and fun is what defined characters like Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon. It's more of that than anything else. That ultimately went on to spawn projects like Star Wars. So hopefully this gets resolved rather quickly. I think the odds are better for Legendary than Skydance, but well, time will tell. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.